Namaste, my friends. I'm Bonnie Kelly, and you're watching another episode of Mind Right Monday. And this week, we're talking about what to do when you have fear and switching over to having faith. So when we're talking about having faith, I'm not going to be necessarily talking about your spiritual beliefs or your connection to God. What I'm talking about is learning to embrace the faith within you, the faith that you have in your strengths, in your abilities, in your capabilities. For many of you watching, you may think that I don't have faith in myself or I don't trust in myself. Well, this is one thing we're going to want to begin to learn and harness, because all of us struggle with fear. And fear is something that's going to come up and it's constantly going to infect and show up in your life. And we need to find a way to not only be able to plow through that fear, but also be able to recognize when it's showing up and when it begins to paralyze you. Often when we experience fear, it can be crippling. The inner fight, flight, freeze is going to kick into high gear, and we're going to find ourselves avoiding doing the things we need to do to have success. We're going to find ourselves, hiding from the people that, love us the most. We'll find ourselves disconnecting and really self-sabotaging when we allow fear to really creep in and take over the driver's seat. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to have faith. And so what I always say is that you could either have fear or you can have faith, but you can't have both. Both are predicting the future. One is predicting the worst case scenario, and it's doomsday and nothing will ever turn out. Whereas the other is predicting that it will all turn out, that things will happen. And it's not going to be the worst case scenario. So you get to choose which one of those that you want to put your energy into, because both are making assumptions about the future. And unless you got a magical crystal ball, the reality is you can't. And so all we can do is embrace what we know right now as we're moving forward. So you get to choose, okay? Do I want to put my energy, my attention, all of my focus, my thoughts, and all of my feeling into the fear of the unknown and the fear of how this will turn out, into the fear that this terrible situation that I'm in right now is going to be my everything? Or do I want to put my attention over here into having faith that, you know what, hard times are temporary, that I can get through this, that I've overcame things like this before, and really be able to trust in the ebb and flow of life. The reality is that bad things are always going to happen. That's just the nature of life. We can't control on if there's going to be a horrific storm that rips off the roof of your house. We can't control if the person that we love and that we spending our life with passes away suddenly or early. There's so many things that we can't control. And because we can't control that, and because we know that in our future there is going to be painful moments, because that we know this, we can allow fear to cripple us and to paralyze us from really experiencing or embracing the joy that can also be the future that's in front of us as well. So what I say is you have to choose one. You can have fear, you can have faith, but you can't have both. Both, again, are predicting the future. Which one are you going to choose? Here's my tip for you this week when fear becomes paralyzing. I say we need to do a fear-faith scale. So imagine that you have a timeline, okay? And on this side is the fear, worst case scenario. And on this side of the line, you have faith, which is your everything's ideal, perfect reality is going to work out. And then everything in between. So what I say is that write out the fear first, because you know over here on this end of the extreme, what is your most horrific fear. Now let's play devil's advocate. On the other side of this bar, all the way on the other side, let's look at what is it that would be the ideal situation in this future scenario. So let's say, for example, that maybe you found out that your company's shutting down, okay? The worst case scenario over here is I will never find a job again. I'm going to be homeless. We're going to be on the streets. Best case scenario, I'm going to get hired in by that company down the street and make twice as much money. Okay? So we have the worst case and the ideal case. Well, what we fail to realize is that these are extremes and there's a lot of scenarios in between here. So what we want to do is figure out, okay, what are some other possible futures that could result from this traumatic situation? Well, then you kind of go in a little bit. What is still not ideal, maybe is painful, but it isn't the worst case scenario? Well, maybe it takes you a few months and you living off of your credit cards. That kind of sucks, but it's not being homeless, is it? All right, so let's move in a little bit further. Maybe now you're halfway through. What would be like not the worst case and not the best case scenario? Well, maybe that is that you are just kind of soaking up your savings, but you're still debt free, and you find some work within 3 to 6 months. All right, well that's okay, because you could rebuild from that. So now let's go into now we're moving over to the positive zone. What would be positive? Maybe you're only unemployed for 30 days, or maybe you get unemployment checks, or they're gonna give you a pension payout. Something that here it's like, okay, so we have enough money, so I can really start venturing off. So the next, best thing before you get to the extreme ideal, maybe then it is that you get hired within the first week and you're making exactly what you were before. So it's not the raise making more money, and maybe it takes you a little bit of time having to apply for a couple jobs, but it's still, you're gonna be making what you were. All of these things are potentials that could happen in the future. Now, since you get to choose which one of these futures to focus on, since we don't have a crystal ball, I always say, if you're gonna make an assumption, might as well make one that feels good. This side of the bar doesn't feel so good. It's gonna perpetuate more fear, more anxiety, and more worry and keep you up at night. Whereas this side is saying, you know what, these are possibilities and it probably is gonna work out. The odds of me being homeless or not ever finding a job again, because I'm pretty hireable, are probably a lot less. So now we begin to challenge that fear and we can step into having faith. So hopefully this week's video helped you to be able to challenge your fear with having faith in your strengths and your capabilities, because I know that you are much stronger than you think you are. So I'm Bonnie Kelly. Don't forget to comment below and tell me what you think of this scale. Maybe you've used it before, and if not, tell me how it is to start using it for the first time. We love to hear how you're having success with this practice. Also, don't forget to email us your questions at getinspired@bonniekelly.me, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week on a video. Until then. Namaste, my friends. This is, why aren't we doing the bloopers one this time? Boop. This week we're talking about having fear or having faith. That's not really what we're talking about. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mind Right Monday. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mind Right Monday. This one is predicting. I can do this, okay?